Greetings, players of Sleeper Island. My name is Jen Throck, and I'm here to bring a tutorial to you today about Hunter's Mark and Hex. Now, if you saw the one that I posted previously, I did a little bit more diving and did a little bit more fixing as to what I was presenting, and I wanted to get rid of the background noise. So, here we have 4 screens up. 2 of them are DM screens, and 2 of them are player screens. We're going to start with Classic, and we're going to start with Hunter's Mark. We are simply going to go through the coding, what it should be, and this will work because it's basic Fantasy Grounds. You don't need to have Rob 2E or any other if-then-that markings. You simply need to code it like this and do the shift drag onto your target. I'm showing you this method because I believe it to be the simplest method, and if you're familiar with the other methods, feel free to use them. It is up to personal flavor or want at that point, but we're going to start with the Hunter's Mark. Now, the Hunter's Mark, when you first get it, you drag it out. This is what it looks like. DMG : 1d6 semicolon parentheses C parentheses. That's basically saying that anytime damage is dealt, deal an extra d6 of damage, and it's a concentration. Now, the spell is that is bare bones, and it will work. You will need to hold shift and drag it onto your target. The issue with this is that it works on everything. So anything your player does, that character does, will have an extra 1d6. Looking at Hunter's Mark, it is very specific whenever you hit with a weapon attack. So, we are going to clean this up and fix it. Now, the first thing that you'll want to do, even if you leave it the same, is you're going to want to change the expend to be never. Now, this is the coding that we utilize to clean it up. We put in Hunter's Mark semicolon. That is nothing more than a descriptor. It won't have any effect on the spell or the ability, but what it does do is it lets your DM and you know what that ability is. It's not just a ability that's going to sit there and say damage 1d6. Next line of code for that is DMG : 1d6, comma, ranged, comma, melee, semicolon. And what this does is this says that the damage will only be applied on weapon rolls that are ranged or melee. As a result, what we're going to do is we're going to apply both of them so you can see how they interact differently. Now, I will note that in both instances, they are targeting self. That is correct. They should never expend. This is a 1-hour concentration spell. So we're going to put the first one, so you can see it, onto the Ancient Red Dragon. And this is the shift-click method. This is what you're going to be doing. You're going to shift and drag it over to your target. Now you can see that it says targets Ancient Red Dragon, damage 1d6, concentration. If you do not do that, what you get is damage 1d6. And that means that you'll do it every time to any creature that you hit, and that's not how the spell works. So we just want to focus on the correct way. So now that we have the Ancient Dragon targeted as a 1d6, we can come up here and we can say, okay, well, maybe I'm a dual class Warlock. So I'll Eldritch Blast the Ancient Red Dragon. Oh, that's your first problem. It shouldn't target, it shouldn't come off to effect of a spell. So Eldritch Blast should not affect it. You should not get the D6 off of it. So this is where going vanilla with a little bit of a tweak is a problem. So instead, I recommend what I have here. I recommend this. I recommend this coding. It's not a whole lot. Trust me, the things can get much more complicated. But it is Hunter's Mark, semicolon. Again, that first part is a reference. It lets you know when it's on there, what it's from, and why you're getting it. Damage 1d6, that's DMG, all capital, colon, space 1d6, comma, space ranged, comma, space melee, semicolon, concentration. The DMG part says that you're going to add 1d6 damage whenever you hit with a ranged or melee attack. The concentration effect means that if you take damage, or you stop concentrating on it, or you cast another concentration spell, this is going to end. Once again, you hold shift, you drag it to your target. We're going to drag it onto the red dragon, and you're going to see that it says targets Ancient Red Dragon. Now, I can hit the Ancient Red Dragon with an Eldritch Blast. It does no additional damage. I can now hit it with a sword and get my additional damage, or a longbow and get my additional damage. Anything that is in this weapons category that is classified as a ranged or a melee weapon is going to do extra damage. Now, I did not think about reach, and I don't know if it's coded differently, so I'm going to take just a moment here to pull up, say, a whip. And we're going to throw that up here, and we'll see what that does. There you go. So it's not coded any differently. It's still coded as a melee weapon, and you would still get extra damage out of it. Now, with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to Unity, and I'm going to show you that the coding is exactly the same. So this won't take too long. I won't be ranting about it. We're just going to show you that the coding is exactly the same. Whoop. Alright, so we pull up our test character. We are going to change this because we have changed what we're doing. And we're going to throw this onto the Allosaurus. Now, we have Eldritch Blast up here. And you can see no extra damage. We're just going to grab a sword. Or not. No sword. Bow. Okay. Well, that is shenanigans. Bow, longbow, sword, longsword. Again, we shift dragged so that the Allosaurus is there. We saw that the Eldritch Blast did no damage, or extra damage. Meanwhile, the longbow and the longsword each did an extra d6 of damage. So the coding is the exact same. There is no need to get different coding or go after longer aspects of things. Now, mind you, the other aspect of Hunter's Mark is not codable. If you want to put a reference into the Hunter's Mark ability so that you know that you have advantage on perception and survival wisdom checks for finding the creature, be free to do so. But there's no coding for it. There's no way that I know of. So if you know a way, let me know. And that's mainly because you can't roll against a specific creature. I can definitely give you advantage on skill checks. You know, there's coding for that, but I can't do it against a very specific creature. Alright, So now we move on to Hex. Now the first thing about Hex is that it's a multi-part spell. And when you cast it, you're going to have to choose what you're doing. So when we go in, we add 6 actions because it's easier to have them all ready to go. 2, 4, 5, 6. And we look at this and we say damage 1d6 necrotic. Okay, that seems alright. Except that it does not expend on the next roll. It expends never. And let's take a look at the spell just to make sure that it doesn't have any caveats like the other one did. Whenever you hit it with an attack, so it's not a melee or a range attack, it is simply an attack. Alright. So once again, this will work, and this is even easier to work with than the Ranger one, the Hunter's Mark, because I don't need to worry about if I'm going to need to verify if it's a ranged or a melee attack. I just need to verify that it's an attack. So we drag it on, we use Eldritch Blast. Did I just hit myself? I just hit myself. Okay. Not sure why I just hit myself, but we did. So we drag it on. And then... Whoops. Doing good. We got this. We just check everything. And it all works. Then we check it against the other one. And we see that it does not work. That's the goal. So Hex, as written, works as it would. Now, we get into what I would do. And this would be to add the descriptor, Hex. That's it. So instead of seeing DMG, instead of seeing damage 1d6 necrotic, what we will see will be Hex, damage 1d6 necrotic. Again, shift dragging to your target to create that target effect. Now, this other aspect allows you to create a disadvantage against a check, and that is coded as DIS check, and we'll say strength. Now, because this is going on the target, I do like to put qualifiers, like why is it there? And we're just going to put this on the red dragon so that you can see it. And this is where the DM side comes into things. We pull up the red dragon, we do a strength check, and we can see that it is at disadvantage now. You're going to make one of those 6 for all of your things. Alright, now coming over to Unity, just so that you can see that it's the same. We have the Hex already in here, already coded the way that we were coding in the other one. And we bring it over to the air elemental. Okay, something funky just happened there. Alright, untarget. Hold shift, drag it over to the air elemental. Targets air elemental. And once again, you can see that the coding... Now, sometimes Fantasy Grounds and my mouse do not like each other. So I apologize for that, but you can see that the coding works the exact same. Quite simple. And then we will add that to the air elemental, jump over to the DM side, and do a strength check for the air elemental. That's all there is to this. Now that we don't have the noise in the background, I want to say thank you all for your patience. If you got any pointers for me, what I should clean up, granted this did not run through a editor software, so I didn't cut anything out. This is all just as it is. Or if you would like a tutorial about something else in Fantasy Grounds that maybe you don't understand, or that you're having trouble getting an effect to work properly, please let me know. You can DM me on Sleeper Island. The Genthrock will do. You'll find me. Have a great night, guys. Have a great day, whatever it may be in your situation. And we'll see you on Sleeper Island.